This is Ringler Radio, where you get all the latest news and information about settlement solutions, litigation, mediation, and structured financial security from Ringler, the largest and most experienced company of settlement consultants in the United States. Ringler has been helping injured people and their families since 1975. Ringler Radio is made possible in part by American General, Liberty Mutual, MetLife, Mutual of Omaha, New York Life, Pacific Life, and Prudential. Now join Ringler Radio host Larry Cohen.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Ringler Radio. I'm Larry Cohen, the head of Ringler's Northeast Operations, and we're certainly glad you could join us again today. Well, today's show is a bit different from the usual claims and legal topics we've been discussing, and that's because Ringler has launched its rebranding initiative, the first real change since Ringler's founding way back in 1975, over 40 years ago. And this rebranding involves refreshing the look and broadening the message while retaining all the core values that have made Ringler the trusted entity you encounter every day. And this branding is nothing, of course, that we take lightly. Brand names are important in reflecting the image of a company, as are their logos. And some logos are so powerful, they can be instantly recognized. And that's also the reason that musical jingles have been used many times to elicit an instant recall of a brand. But as a company evolves, it's not unusual to see a change in its name, its logo, and its tagline. For example, Nissan was once Datsun, Snapchat, Peekaboo, and Best Buy, believe it or not, was the Sound of Music. Now it's hard to imagine those old names, as the new ones are firmly planted in our psyches. So what's exactly changing here at Ringler? Well, for one, our name Ringler Associates will now be simply Ringler. Now, that's not a big change, since most of you refer to us by the name Ringler anyway, but we made a few other tweaks that you are going to notice. And to join me to discuss these is our President and CEO, Jeff Hunt, as well as Mark Vogel, head of Ringler's office in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and more importantly, head of the Ringler Leadership Team that's been heavily involved in the rebranding process. So with that, welcome, Jeff, to Ringler Radio.
Thanks, Larry. Great to be here.
And Mark, thank you for joining us, too. Great to have you with us.
Thanks, Larry.
Well, Mark, let me begin with you. Why don't you tell us about the impetus for the Ringler rebrand idea? What was that all about?
Well, Larry, you mentioned that Ringler has been around since 1975, and the litigation industry has gone through a lot of changes during that time period. Back in that era, structured settlements were fairly black and white, and structured settlement professionals were really required to understand annuitization and different products. But today, things have really changed. We need to be able to bring other skills and knowledge sets to the table, things like special needs planning and the ability to preserve public benefits for the injured parties, Medicare compliance, and other matters like that. And more, we're turned to by the different parties involved in the process to provide solutions that extend far beyond just simple structured settlement annuities.
Well, thanks, Mark. It's critical for any company to reach its customers with a clear message. But Ringler's audience is comprised of many diverse interests. There are attorneys, both plaintiff and defendant. We have claim professionals, mediators, injured persons with their families, even judges. How does our rebranding impact the way Ringler communicates with all of these various audiences?
I think, Larry, we have to look at it as though we're trying to create the best possible solution for the injured party. The settlement itself almost becomes the client here in getting a good result for everybody that's involved. And so we've got to be able, in a compromised settlement situation, to be able to pull in some of the different resources. We have to have knowledge that extends beyond just simple annuities, and we have to be able to kind of plug these different components in to create, again, the best possible solution that can be realized in every situation that we find ourselves involved in.
Well, Jeff, let's get your thoughts on this. Often it's said that a brand is a company's promise to its customers, and our new theme is everybody wins. How would you define what that means? Because it must have a slightly different meaning to each of Ringler's audiences. Is that right?
Absolutely. when we say everybody wins, the nature of that comment is speaking to our clients and the people that they serve, whether it be their insured or injured parties. And it's important for us to be perceived at our highest value, which we bring to the table, which is objective settlement advisors. All the things that Mark just spoke to. And in order for us to do the best that we can, we have to make sure that people come out of that settlement feeling like their lives are moving on, they've got a fair dealing, and if you're an injured party, and if you're on the defense, you have to feel like, I paid my obligation, I didn't pay more than I needed to, but everybody walked away from that feeling like, okay, we're moving on, it's fair, the Ringler professional did their job in coming up with a creative solution to get that settlement happening and let everybody move on from life.
I guess that's how everybody wins.
That's exactly right.
And Jeff, a brand also speaks to the values of a company and its people. So how will the Ringler rebrand help tell that story?
One is it speaks to not only our professionalism, but our innovation. In every leader, the concern has to be, where is the disruptor going to be? For example, in this morning's news, the biggest headline was Jet being purchased by Walmart. Amazon is cutting into the Walmart business, which is a big, colossal company, and they have to have an online response. So that's why that merger is under consideration. Similarly with us, just being a structured broker isn't really serving the highest and best use of everything that we can bring to that settlement table. And so our core values and our core strengths are going to be enhanced going into the future, and that's how we'll not only meet the competition, but beat the competition, but in a responsible way to injured parties and our clients.
Well, that's very interesting, Jeff. Mark, how about the future? How else will the rebrand be visible to folks out there? What new elements of our story will our audiences and our customers, what will they be hearing and seeing as we move forward?
Well, aside from a new logo and updated colors, Larry, I think it creates an opportunity for us to have some in-depth conversations with people so that they better understand the depth of knowledge and expertise, the resources that are available to them within their relationships with different Ringler settlement advisors. Things are always changing. We're in an environment, for example, right now where many states have moved to expanded Medicaid. Well, what type of effect does that have on the settlement planning process? These are things that claim professionals, trial attorneys representing injured parties probably don't have all the time that they need to stay on top of. So again, this is a whole arena of knowledge and expertise that is at the is a focus point really for us as settlement advisors, where we need to be not only conversant, but we have to again be a resource to help bring in maybe other professionals or other companies that will bear on creating that type of solution that Jeff was talking about. People are looking to us for not only guidance, but they're looking to us for objectivity, for creativity, and we're trying to open that dialogue with clients in the world that we work in, so that they understand that they can turn to us and expect to have some professional guidance.
Well, it's interesting, Mark and Jeff. We've been moving in that direction, as you know, over the years as new products have come into play. We've prided ourselves on that ability to be flexible and change and help our clients in new ways. It sounds to me like this new rebranding is really more of a ratification of that evolution that we've already been on. Is that basically true?
I think that's absolutely true. We have so many strengths. As you said very much at the outset, Larry, this is about building on our strengths. This is not changing our stripes. This is adding new stripes.
Terrific. All right. Well, Mark and Jeff, it's very interesting how the rebranding is coming into being at a time when the marketplace has seen some fairly interesting changes along the way. And a lot of you who are listening out there as professionals may have seen those changes at the settlement conference table, where there tends to be some more collaboration, and there tends to be maybe more than one broker from time to time. So Mark and Jeff, why don't you speak to where the market has been and where it's going and how the rebranding fits?
Well, Larry, the rebranding process, to me personally, I think to the other members of our leadership team was really fascinating. And it's not something that we just came up with on our own. We hired professionals, we did extensive research, and it was very clear in the marketplace that people, again, are looking for objectivity. They're looking for professional expertise. They're looking for people who can help the parties realize a solution efficiently, and again, looking for the best result. I think in the past there has been, a bit more acrimony than there has been recently between all of the parties. Ringler is a very interesting company from my standpoint in its internal dedication to producing the best possible results in the marketplace. And I think that's where we're heading to in the future. Every year, for example, in February, we get together as an organization for something that we call Ringler University. And this is really a program with curriculum that's developed by the settlement advisors that make up Ringler across the country, and what we feel we need in the way of additional education to be the resource that all of the litigation industry's parties need at that table, as you're talking about, Larry. So whether it's, again, things that are evolving in the Medicare compliance field, whether it's being able to understand the dynamics of public benefits, whether it's Medicaid or SSI or state Medicaid waiver programs, all of these different things. We need to be able to speak to that so that, again, the best possible result, everybody winning, can take place, not just for the insurance professionals or the trial attorneys, but for the injured parties. And at the end of the day, I think that if you talk to all of the Ringler people around the country, you'd find that's what we're shooting for. We want to create the best possible solution, no matter how we're introduced into the case, for that injured party. Because when we do that, when we bring to bear the resources and knowledge that we've been developing as professionals, then truly everybody does win.
For me, Larry, the most exciting part about the rebranding is how it evolved. As you know, I'm a year and a half into being with Ringler, and the leadership team, which is made up of our associates, had recognized that how Ringler has served its clients has served Ringler well, but that the client needs going into the future are different. And therefore, we have to invest in ourselves differently and has a brand that supports that reinvestment. And so to me, this was a very much of an organic growth of where we're going to invest and where we need to be versus just simply rely on what got us here. And that was the most exciting part of this whole project to me.
Well, no question about that. And, another very important element of this concept you were talking about, Mark, of getting our hands around and our heads around a lot of the new concepts in the industry is this Ringler hotline that we have, where we have subject matter experts among all of our brokers that are obviously a little more steeped in certain areas versus others, and we have the ability to instantaneously access that as we're at a mediation or anywhere else. And that knowledge base coming out of Ringler University and other things that we've gained along the way is invaluable, and it makes Ringler, I think, really the standout in the industry for that.
Absolute source of pride when we see how much our associates share with each other, whether it's to point to something in Ringler Library or just, hey, I had a case like that, or I know this relationship. No Ringler associate is an island to themselves, and that's the strength of our organization.
Terrific. Well, let's take a short break right now, and in the interim, you're going to be hearing some of our new promotional material for Ringler Radio. It's pretty cool. We'll be right back.
This is Ringler Radio, brought to you from Ringler, the nation's leading provider of fair settlement solutions. Did you know that Ringler is involved in a third of all structured settlement cases in the country? Ringler Advisors work with all the parties in a lawsuit settlement to find the best possible financial solution for the people involved. Everybody wins. Thanks for listening to Ringler Radio, celebrating more than a decade of podcasting and over 2 million listeners. Think of Ringler, the objective settlement advisors with more than 140 consultants in 60 cities nationwide. Visit ringlerassociates.com today. When it's your interests at stake in a lawsuit settlement, you want only the best, most objective financial plan. You can count on Ringler Advisors to create a customized plan that meets the financial needs of you and your family for the future. Visit ringlerassociates.com to learn more.
Welcome back to Ringler Radio. Glad you could join us. I'm your host, Larry Cohen, and I'm joined today by President and CEO of Ringler, Jeff Hunt, and Mark Vogel, the associate in our Ringler Grand Rapids office and the head of our Ringler Leadership Team. And today, of course, we're talking about Ringler's new look and the new messaging in the company's rebranding effort. Mark, the rebrand isn't just about a new logo, new colors, and a new style to our tagline. Although certainly there's some of that, but there's also some important things to articulate here about the message. Steve Jobs once said, I think about branding is that we have to be clear about what we want people to know about us and what we stand for. So how does that desire for clarity resonate in the new Ringler brand? Tell us about that.
I think there's two things, Larry. One, the whole concept of everybody winning. Again, we've talked about that, and it's a hard thing to say sometimes because we're often working in a situation or a scenario where there's been great personal tragedy realized by different individuals and families, and we recognize that. By the same token, we're called into those situations on a day-by-day basis, and it's our job to take all of the different puzzle pieces that are out there for settlement and help the parties put them together in such a way that it creates the best possible result going forward. And that concept, I think, is important. And if you look at the logo itself, it's an arrow moving in a direction, crossing a finish line, and that's the concept, the finish line. In the midst of litigation or the settlement of a claim, there tends to be a lot of backwards looking, people looking at the events as they took place, at the injuries, the liability, who was wrong, who was right. And the whole concept here is getting to the point where people are able to really move forward with life and doing it in such a way that we're able to cross that finish line for all of the parties that are involved, not just the claim people, not just the attorneys, but the injured parties, and creating a pathway for them to move forward in life in the best possible way that can be realized by that, knowing that there may be some limitations given what's taken place, but it's amazing really to see the stories and the triumphs realized by people in overcoming some of that, and to be a part of that as settlement advisors and pulling in some of the different resources and pulling in different companies or organizations that might help them. A good example. There's a lot of companies out there that provide professional administration for future medical expenses and claims, and this is a whole area that I think people left to this on their own would just be lost. But we're able to help them establish a relationship with organizations going forward that will make life, it will dramatically improve the quality of life as they move forward. So that's the whole concept here, Larry, is not only everybody winning, but also getting to that point in the settlement process that we cross that finish line. And so people now can turn from being, looking back at everything that's taken place to looking forward to the future and having some measure of confidence that things are going to be okay given what we put together for them.
No question. Coming out of all the chaos, hopefully is some peace of mind as they move forward. Now, Jeff, Ringler isn't exactly a consumer product-oriented company like Coke or Pepsi, relying on commercials for exposure. So where and how will this new Ringler brand be seen out there? Where will it show up?
It's going to show up in everything we do, whether it's a business card, marketing collateral, our educational materials in the industry, social media, our website, and at every conference we attend. This is going to be prevalent in everything we do and in everything we say. So it's going to be embedded in all our communications and all of our professional materials.
Well, we look forward to that. And Jeff, one more good question for you, I think, is this. This branding initiative clearly fits into an overall strategy you have for Ringler's growth. And so tell us about that, because that's an important aspect of this. You see Ringler growing quite substantially as you move forward. Tell us about your vision of the future.
There's really kind of three prongs to that approach. One is to be the innovative company that actually attracts new people, new settlement consultants to our industry. This is an exciting industry that we do well for people and for our clients. So I see that our rebranding and the investments we're making to support that will attract new people to our industry. Secondarily, it will also create an environment where we're bringing more solutions, and therefore, on the plaintiff side, I think we'll be viewed as much more favorably as serving their client's need. And third, and equally as important, there are more people in need of structures and the settlement solutions that we bring to the table than are currently being served. Insurance companies, TPAs, self-insureds, it's a new environment, and you have to have a more analytical, more economically focused value proposition. And we're investing in that so that we can explain what the values are in structures and in settlement solutions that Ringler brings to the table, so that we can find more opportunities in their business to be of service. There's absolute organic growth. We really haven't gone above that $6 billion mark in a few years. And as we look at the data, there's every reason to believe that that should be expanded. Not because we're looking to grow for growth's sake, because there's a lot more people that can be served with what we have to offer if we just make the value proposition in sound economic terms to our clients.
Well, that's interesting, Jeff. And let's wrap up this conversation today with one more question from Mark. Mark, well, this has been a very interesting discussion on the rebrand, and I think we'll wrap it up at this point. But before I do that, I want to ask you one more question, Mark. What is it that will show us that we've been successful with the rebrand? What is it that we will have accomplished that'll make you feel that it's been worth the effort?
Well, that's a great question, Larry. To all of us at Ringler, I think the answer to that is having people understand that we are truly a resource for all of the parties to help them create the best possible result. And so, I look at it this way. From our client standpoint, as they look at us, and that's, I think, rebranding, that's really kind of the critical question, is how are we looked at by the world in general? I'd love to know that people now have a better understanding of our ability as professionals and as an organization to deliver what we've been talking about in this radio show. Ringler has offices around the country, but people might not see the collaboration that takes place between all of us. They might not see the incredible support staff that we have. Ringler doesn't just employ 60 settlement advisors. We literally have hundreds of people that are supporting the parties in trying to get to that everybody wins solution. Doing so in a way that's timely, efficient, objective, fair. That's what the data showed as we did the research within the marketplace, saying what do people want from structured settlement professionals. So the answer again, Larry, to your question is that the world would know that when they pick up the phone or send an email and invite a Ringler settlement advisor to take part in the process, that they are going to be engaging really a critical provider of information, expertise, resources that'll make a real difference in the process.
Well, that's terrific. And Jeff, do you have anything to add to that?
Just to enhance what Mark said, I think that you will see Ringler absolutely continue to be the leader in the number of associates we have and the number of clients that we serve.
Terrific. And with that, I'm going to wrap it up. It's been a terrific conversation. Jeff, let me ask you this. If someone wanted to talk to you about this or find out more about it, how would they get in touch with you?
Just look at our webpage, and my addresses, my phone numbers, everything's there. I'm the most accessible person you can find.
And I think it'll even be a new webpage, right? We're going to have a new design, and it's going to even look cooler than it does now. And Mark, how about you?
Same answer, Larry. You can find us online. Ringler is present really all over the country, and so not only myself but my peers and professional associates around the country stand ready to, again, help all the parties win every day.
Well, that's terrific. And Jeff, do you have anything to add to that?
The tagline, "Everybody wins," probably will have some people scratching their heads because there's so much dynamics and emotions in a settlement conference. But at the end of the day, as Mark says, adding a Ringler professional will get us to a point where everybody does win and everybody can move on with their lives.
Well, that's terrific. And if any of you out there want to reach any Ringler associate, you can go to ringlerassociates.com. That's the website that Jeff and Mark mentioned. And you can also hear every Ringler Radio show by accessing ringlerassociates.com, ringlerradio.com, legaltalknetwork.com, or on iTunes, where you can download and listen to any show at your leisure. And with that, I want to thank you again, Jeff, for joining us today for this discussion on the rebrand.
Thank you for having me.
And Mark, thank you again for your tremendous leadership on the for the leadership team and for putting this rebrand together.
Thanks, Larry. Appreciate it.
Terrific. And for all the rest of you out there, go have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Ringler Radio, celebrating more than a decade of podcasting and over 2 million listeners. Think of Ringler, the objective settlement advisors with more than 140 consultants in 60 cities nationwide. Visit ringlerassociates.com today. The views expressed by the participants of this program are their own. None of the content should be considered legal advice. As always, consult a lawyer.